So habit number 3, again, I know some of you are very familiar with, some of you are a bit familiar with. So this is meditation, but I want to tell you a little bit quickly about the science behind what stress does to your brain. So obviously you've probably heard about the fight or flight response, invented when we were cave people. So the stress hormone cortisol was good for us because it increased our heart rate and our blood pressure. It meant that we could run or we could fight. And it didn't need our decision-making part of our brain. It didn't need our prefrontal cortex. We didn't have to make decisions or think rationally. We needed to run or we needed to fight. But these days, obviously, there's no lions or tigers, but there is emails, there are phone calls, there's all this connectivity, there's all this weight of expectation on us and things, which results in chronic and prolonged stress. So it's not just a temporary burst of stress to run away from the threat. It's something that's becoming more common, and we're not sort of ever coming out of that stress reaction. It's sort of almost always there. So what that does is that increases the amygdala part of our brain, which is fear and anxiety. It makes new neural connections within the brain that actually increase the size of that part of the brain, and it decreases the learning, memory, and stress control function. So that's why when we're under stress and for prolonged periods, we do feel more fearful and anxious. We do catastrophize and see the worst case scenarios. And we do find that we can't retain information very well. Our memory might feel worse than it was. And we feel we can't think rationally. We can't make proper decisions. So that's what happens in stress. But the good news is that meditation actually reverses that cycle. So it helps improve your learning, memory, and stress control. It reduces the fear and anxiety part of the brain, and it restores that control back to your decision-making, rational thinking part of your brain. So it is, for me, it was a life changer. I mean, it was panic attacks, and it was, do I go on antidepressants or do I try out meditation and give it a proper go? And for me, it was really that, meditation changed everything. So not only does it help with stress, which it does, helps you to sleep better, none of this sort of waking up in the middle of the night worrying about things. You can think more rationally, more calmly, make better quality decisions, have more confidence. It's a really, really good all-rounder. So it's definitely something I recommend that you give a go if you haven't, or if you have done it and not got on with it, let's find a way to make it work for you, because there's loads of different ways to do it. So what I think has been the problem with meditation over the years is that it's become very complicated when I don't think it needs to be. So here's one definition that I don't like, pondering, reflection, deliberation, study, rumination, brooding, mulling over. I mean, that doesn't sound good for anyone at all, does it? So I certainly wouldn't want anybody to be doing that with it. And mindfulness, similarly, because the terms they are different, but they're sort of used interchangeably sometimes. Mindfulness, this idea that we pay attention to our thoughts and feelings without judging them, without believing, for instance, there is a right or a wrong way to feel. For me, it's just wordy and it's quite complicated. And I think sometimes people who are new to it perhaps are so busy trying to get their head around what it is that they don't actually do anything with it. And that was certainly the way I was for the first year or so when I tried to get involved with meditation and mindfulness. So my suggestion to people is that we keep it really, really simple if you're new to it. It's certainly something that you can find out more about once you're more used to it. I'm a big fan of retreats and courses and all those sorts of things, but I think starting off simple is really important. So what it does, I've already touched on, helps with sort of busy mind, racing thoughts, being unable to concentrate, feeling disorganized, negative thinking, it helps with that. Waking up in the night, irritability and intolerance there probably come out of tiredness and stress. Insomnia, I've mentioned there. So what does it do? We have a lot of thoughts a day, 60 to I think 75,000 thoughts a day. Obviously some people more than others, but I'm sure for all of us we've got pretty busy minds. So it gives the mind a rest. I always like to think of it like a motor. If you think of a hairdryer or a Hoover, if you left those running all the time, they're going to burn out. And I think that's what's happening to our minds a lot of the time. They're so busy with thoughts, with mind chatter day and night that we're not giving it a rest. And I like to think that meditation is a chance for our brains to have a bit of a rest. You do become clearer, easier decision making, helps with obviously stress. I've talked about that. So yeah, I think I've talked about all those things. So my suggestion for a simple way to meditate is to choose one thought, positive affirmation if you like, or a mantra. So my examples would be, I trust, I am enough. You could use them together. If you don't want it to be too long, you could use them together. You could use them separately. You could use any of these. I mean, I tend to use either I am calm, I am peaceful, I am happy. You could use I am confident, I am successful. It can be anything at all that you want to feel that day. That is the thought that I would choose. Keep it short and sweet because you don't want to be thinking about it. You want to be just doing it. And again, this is just a nice little piece of science that got me interested in it. The electromagnetic field of our heart is, and I can't remember the number, but it is significantly bigger than the electromagnetic field of our brain, which sort of goes along the fact that Laura's nodding, and perhaps in a moment she'll tell us the figure because I always get it wrong. But the brain is whatever size it is, which is very small in compared to the heart. The heart is very, very powerful. Now, the way I sort of explain this to people is, you know how you can walk into a room or you can come near somebody, not these days, obviously, but and you can, if they're feeling really down or miserable, it sort of impacts on you. Their energy impacts on you to a lesser or greater extent sometimes. And this is how I like to think about this. You know, whatever energy we're putting out there, we can affect other people who come into that. So if we're putting out a sort of, you know, I'm feeling confident or I'm feeling calm or whatever it is, then that will sort of impact other people as well. So that's how I sort of like to think about it when I'm meditating. You know, it's not only what I want to feel, but what do I sort of want to be putting out? You know, do I want to be putting out feeling calm, relaxed, successful, happy, whatever it is? I like to think about sort of putting it out, if you like, to other people as well. So I know for some people, when I talk to them even about the simple meditation, the idea that they can sort of visualize this you know, electromagnetic field helps them to sort of keep focused a bit as well. So I just share that with you in case that works for you too. So we're not going to try out meditation now, but I've sort of explained, I'm going to shut down now actually, because I think that was my last slide. So my sort of simplest way of doing it, and I know lots of people have got different ways of doing it, is literally to have the one thought. So you could use I am calm, I am happy, etc. And spend 10 minutes just, you know, sit down quietly on your own if you can, just eyes closed if it works for you. Just your one thought, I am calm, or I am happy, I am peaceful, whatever it is, and just keep thinking that thought. Now, I know you're going to get, I must do this, I've forgotten about that. That's normal. You're not doing it wrong if that happens. Your brain will do that to you. That's what it's supposed to do. But the minute you realize it, just go back to your thought. And as soon as you realize you've gone away again, come back to your one thought. And if you can work up to doing that for 10 minutes a day, then that's when you'll really notice a difference. But there's lots of other ways. There's people who use the apps, you know, Calm and Headspace. Again, they're great for people who love them. I think they're unnecessarily complicated sometimes. And sometimes people spend so long playing with their app that they won't actually do any of the meditation. So simple for me is always the best way. YouTube is great as well. You can just type in guided meditation on YouTube and find one that you like as well, for stress, for insomnia, for happiness, for success, for whatever it is.